Hello and welcome back to Galactic Goddess TV. We're back with Astro Updates with our in-house expert, Yvonne Irene, who will provide invaluable galactic guidance, blending her astrological mastery with profound healing insights. In this podcast, we are focusing on the current retrogrades and taking a deeper look. So welcome, Yvonne.
I'm so excited to be here and get to share and demystify a little bit more about retrogrades because I feel like they get such a bad rap.
Yes, they do, especially when there's 4+.
Yes, exactly. And, one thing I just want to start off by saying is that when we are experiencing a retrograde, it's not something to fear or panic about, especially once you know how to work with them effectively, which we're going to dive into here.
I am so excited. I feel like this is so empowering for all of our listeners and even for me listening. So thank you for enlightening us. I'd love to know about the Pluto retrograde.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have currently four planets and we have Chiron in retrograde. So we're having a lot of this retrograde energy going through. And before we dive into Pluto, I just want to make sure folks are aware of what a retrograde is. So when a planet appears to move in a backward motion, that is considered a retrograde. But something for us to be aware of is that the planets actually don't move backwards. It's actually an optical illusion from our perspective here on Earth because of the different orbital speeds.
Mm.
So, retrogrades actually are a time for the energy to turn inward and for us to go internal. So, when we go internal and work with that energy, we are able to effectively work with that energy of the retrograde.
It makes total sense. So it's not like it's a wrecking ball just coming to destroy our lives. It's coming in to help us go deeper within and to have perhaps the insights from all. I can think of it like maybe we have, a lot of lessons and the trials and tribulations we go through, and then perhaps it's a time to reflect and to learn and to grow.
Absolutely. You nailed it 100% there, with retrogrades being a time for us to reflect, to journal, to go internal, and use that as an opportunity for growth.
Beautiful. So, you guys, we have huge opportunity to grow. Where should we start? Because there's so many, and I would
Yeah.
love to lead with like the most current retrograde, I guess, which is the Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. So the most current retrograde is the Mercury retrograde. And this one we probably feel a little more personally because Mercury is a personal planet. So we feel this one even more, which is probably why sometimes we hear people going like, oh no, it's Mercury retrograde. And they're just expecting all of these horrible things to happen to them because we experience the Mercury retrograde more personally than we would an outer planet retrograde, which is the rest of the retrogrades that we're experiencing as
Oh,
well.
so you're saying we actually feel it as a collective more personally?
As an individual, we feel the Mercury retrogrades more personally, and as a collective, we feel more of the outer planet retrogrades.
Uh-huh. Okay. So Mercury retrograde is like it's like an inside thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mercury, it goes retrograde about 3 times a year, and it goes retrograde for a period of 20 days. And this one is moving through the signs of Virgo and Leo. So this is really impacting our communication. And when Mercury is in Virgo, it's very sharp, it's very analytical, very detail oriented. And it also can be quite hypercritical because it's so analytical. And retrogrades really invite us to slow down. So pay closer attention to the details because there could be something that we miss while Mercury is retrograde in Virgo. And it's also an opportunity for us to reflect on how we are communicating with ourselves. Because, like I mentioned, Virgo can be very nitpicky. So, this is a time to reflect on how we're communicating with ourselves because Virgo tends to be more nitpicky towards themselves. And sometimes it does also reflect out to the people around us, but
Mm.
it seems to be directed more internally.
Wow. So don't beat yourself up, folks. Let's be extra
Exactly.
nice and extra kind. I know, I think as a culture and even universally, we learn to be very, very critical and actually cruel to ourselves, but we don't know it until we start doing belief work. And I think it's shocking. And I think it's part of the cultural, what we pick up outside is
Exactly.
kind of learn, people nitpick at us and then we start doing that to ourselves. It's a very subtle abuse that comes through the mind. And so I think it's just so important to start perhaps noticing without the critical, side, and just say, oh, that's interesting, right? When you say that's
Mhm.
interesting, and just start noticing, then we don't have to be like, that's terrible, that's horrible. Like we,
Yeah.
we don't have to go to those extremes. So that's really a valuable point to make. Yeah. And then I wanted to ask about the Mercury retrograde, because everybody says
Mhm.
don't sign anything, don't start anything new. What is that about?
So the reason that you may hear people say that with don't start anything new, don't sign any documents is because when it comes to Mercury retrograde, Mercury can be quite the trickster. So something could come up in the form of an issue. As well, we hear that too with travel. There could be like a flight delay, for example, or the flight is canceled when you're signing over a document. Maybe there's a page that you forgot to sign in that document. And what I always advise folks when it comes to Mercury retrograde is if it is something that you already had set in motion and had been working on before the retrograde, it's okay for you to sign documents, to release things that were already in the works prior, because it was working with the energy of Mercury when it was direct.
Okay.
But when it's something brand new, then with the retrograde, we are really asked to revise, workshop that area, and see if it's something that we really do want to have come forward. Because when the retrograde is over, maybe we're not as into that idea. Or maybe if we moved into a new house and we signed the contract and we're in the energy when it's direct, we might be like, oh, I actually don't like this house. I don't like this neighborhood.
Wow. That's terrible to have buyer's remorse.
Exactly.
So perhaps if you get those big purchases, just wait till, keep your cool. Wait till after when everything goes direct. I mean, for Mercury, and then you'll see maybe, the illusions might lift, and maybe you'll see
Mhm.
perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you see things more clearly once Mercury is direct, because Mercury is functioning in its full power, and Mercury is all about the communication, the mind, learning. So everything is more sharp and attuned. So we've been in Mercury retrograde since August 4th, and it started in the sign of Virgo. And on August 14th until when it goes direct on August 28th, it's going to move into the sign of Leo. So that's going to really invite us to pay attention to how we are communicating and how we are expressing ourselves, and to really think about, like, are we coming from an authentic form of self-expression with what we're putting out there? Because Leo really wants us to be coming from the heart and to really be expressing ourselves. So if you've been putting the lid on, your voice, really silencing yourself, this is the time to reflect on, why has that been happening? Like, what is the fear? What is holding you back? And to really embrace that energy of Leo, especially when Mercury goes direct on the 28th, so you can shine, because Leo wants to shine.
Beautiful. That's really great to know. And so it looks like we've been in Neptune retrograde since July 2nd.
Yes, we've been in Neptune retrograde since July 2nd, and we'll be there until November 7th. And Neptune is currently in the sign of Pisces. So, this is really asking us as a collective and also as individuals to reflect on what it is that we need to surrender and let go. Because the theme that's connected with Neptune is very deeply towards surrendering to the universe, surrendering to a higher power, And it's also connected to spirituality. So this is such a beautiful opportunity and time to reflect on spiritual growth as well.
Wow. That's on Neptune in retrograde. Wow, that's interesting. So, how is this a little bit different than Mercury?
So Mercury is all about our communication, our mind, and our learning. And Neptune is more around our spirituality. Neptune is connected to that deep, deep spiritual, true, unconditional love. So this is a really great time when, if you're working with an astrologer who's looking at your chart, they can see specifically what what house is Pisces sitting in your chart, because that is going to show the area of life that is being impacted by this transit, and that can give more deeper insights as well.
Wow. Yeah. So, we also have Saturn in retrograde in Pisces again. It's and that's been going on even longer from June 29th going to November 15th. And could you share about Papa Saturn?
Yes, so Saturn is, I like to think of Saturn as like this strict grandfather energy,
Uh-huh.
because Saturn really wants to bring in structure and discipline into our lives. And it's such a contrast because you had mentioned, Saturn is in Pisces. So is Neptune. But Neptune is more comfortable in the sign of Pisces because Neptune rules over Pisces. So that energy feels so comfortable and works very harmoniously with each other. And it's a contrast to Saturn in Pisces because Saturn, like I said, it's that strict grandfather energy, and Pisces energy just wants to be free, wants to flow, and it also wants to, be one with the universe and have, boundarylessness. And Saturn is really coming in and going like, hey, we need to get structures in place, we need to get discipline in place, and we really have to get boundaries, because you can't just be, zoning through things without boundaries. So it's quite a contrasting energy.
Wow, those are complete opposite in a sense, you know?
Yeah,
Is the spirituality is more flow and the structure is foundation. And that's interesting. I'm a triple Pisces, so I have been really you know, building like really checking those structures and having more disciplines. And but it actually feels really good too. So that's a thing, is it's not a bad thing. It feels like I'm getting more stuff done.
exactly. And the beauty of having Saturn in there with Pisces is because Pisces tends to not have as many boundaries, and Pisces energy can also get very much stuck in the daydream
Mm.
and doesn't take action on that dream because they're so busy like living in the fantasy, that Saturn comes in, and Saturn is like, all right, Pisces, I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to guide you through what you need to do and what you need to put in place to make this fantasy into a reality. I want you to stop living in the dream world and start living in the real world, making your dreams happen.
I love that. So Saturn, you know, Papa Saturn is being loving.
Yes, yes. It's such a beautiful energy. Like I tell all of my clients who are going through their Saturn returns right now, like this is a great time to bring in that discipline, that structure, and those boundaries into the house that Pisces is sitting in your chart,
Mm.
and really make things happen and make things tangible, because the energy of Pisces is the intangible and the energy of Saturn is the tangible.
Wow, perfect. That sounds like a great balance, actually. I think that that's going to help a lot of restructuring too, you know, within ourselves, but also you're seeing a restructuring going on in the world too, where um, you know, a lot of things are kind of falling apart, and it's, you know, it's being called for new structures to come into order, divine order. And so I see a lot of people stepping in with new ideas, you know, and also new structures, like inviting new ways. I
Yeah.
also see a lot of technology coming out, that's helpful for structures for business people in business. So it's very exciting because I don't consider myself a techie, but I'm kind of a wannabe, I'm trying to get into it because I know that it's important. And so I follow the new things coming out and how they can help. And some of them have been very helpful in building more structure. So I think that's also an interesting piece about the technology as well. And how does the technology aspect fit into any of these retrogrades?
So you're actually picking up on the energy that we're in right now, which is the Pluto in Aquarius retrograde.
Mm,
And Pluto is all about the structures, and it brings like deep transformation. And the fact that it's in Aquarius, Aquarius is all about innovation, and it's all about doing things for the greater good. So we're seeing a lot of those changes coming through with more people stepping into wanting to be activists, wanting to be humanitarians. We're seeing it with more AI coming through and support with technology. Technology has become an even more bigger ingrained part of our society. And with this retrograde, it's happening across two signs. The first is Aquarius. And that is really asking us to think about what deaths and rebirths do we need to have with the themes related to Aquarius of innovation, of really letting ourselves, experience these new changes and going with it, being open to it, opening our minds up. Aquarius is all about innovation and being open. So we're really being asked to go through that death and rebirth. And then on the flip side, we have Capricorn. So
mm.
Pluto is going to transition back into the sign of Capricorn on September 1st. And that's where it will stay retrograde until October 11th when it goes direct. And Pluto in Capricorn is asking us to, basically experience that same death and rebirth with old structures that have been in place, especially because Pluto has been in the sign of Capricorn since 2008. So, what structures from that period of time to present need to crumble and fall down in order for us to experience this innovation and move and rise forward together as a society for the greater good?
Wow. Wow, powerful, powerful time, very powerful time that we're living in, and nothing to fear. This is a time it feels really big, the transformation. So it's actually something exciting and to look forward to. And I think, especially for the Pisces, like it's best not to zone out and to zone in.
Exactly.
Stay tuned to the current and for everybody, because when we have a lot of shifts and changes, I think it's our natural uh go to kind of just zone out because it feels so overwhelming at once. But in that we can take one thing at a time, and we're rebuilding and restructuring step by step. And so nothing great is built overnight. We have to take our time, and that's where this reflection is so very important. And not get caught up in so much outside, because there's always going to be something to call your attention. But maybe what ways can you also find ways to tune in within?
Yes, exactly. I feel like with the retrogrades, it's such a beautiful time to go internal, to really focus on reflecting what what you want to restructure, what you want to workshop with the themes that we've discussed. Because when you take the time to go internal and do these reflections, you are really blessed when the energy stations direct because you already know what to take action on. You already know what changes need to be made or what next steps are going to be most supportive for you. And that's why I think it's such a beautiful opportunity when retrogrades occur to really take that time to really journal and go deep with yourself.
Beautiful. Well, I feel really excited now that we've talked about this because I'm like, okay, yeah, makes sense. It's kind of what I've been feeling, but you really, like what I've been feeling, you put words to. So I kind of find that as a beautiful confirmation, and I hope that you also, who are listening will also find that confirmation and know that, nothing is quote unquote wrong. Like we're all going through a lot of shifts and changes. So it's to be expected. And as well as we will continue this conversation. I'm so grateful, that Yvonne is our in-house expert, and you can post questions below. If you'd like a personal reading, she's available and she's giving us a super amazing discount, which is below, all that information. So go ahead and stay tuned. And, we'll be coming up with more information each month. And I'm so excited about this. It feels so good. And it's very, very exciting. And I hope that you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and much love and blessings. Bye for now.